Okay, so hi, I'm Martin. I'm here with Dylan, who is running for Athletic Union President. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us why you'd like to be the next AU President?
Yeah, hi. My name's Dylan. I am a fifth year chemistry student currently, and to be honest, running for AU President is something that I've been thinking about for a good few years now. Like it kind of first came up, I think maybe 2018, and it was something that's kind of been on the back burner, thinking about it, but never too seriously until I kind of realised like, oh yeah, no, like I have ideas, and like having worked with the AU for the previous year, I thought, why not like go for it and try and help improve sport for a year.
That's great. So prominent in your manifesto is the fact that you've worked on the membership fee restructuring.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you can explain to us in more detail what you plan to do with that and how you think that that would make the AU more accessible for students.
Yeah, like I don't know how much detail I'm like able to go into right now,
Sure.
because obviously it's still like a work in progress. But basically, like we're getting information from the clubs and from our kind of like from our own records as well, and working out like ways to make payments and fees more kind of equitable across all the sports, because sometimes some clubs were getting a lot more help from the AU and some clubs were getting a lot less. We're trying to make that more fair across the board, and also helping like kind of clubs know exactly what their money's going towards, because there's been a lot of confusion in the past about like why do we have to kind of pay for a sports centre membership where it's not a sports centre membership, if you know what I mean. So it's helping things be more clear as to like why you're paying what you're paying for, and hopefully that will make everything a lot easier to understand and also make it a lot easier on students as well, because we're not doing this to like steal more money or anything. It's just we want everything to be kind of clearer and fairer and better for the students, which hopefully this should make it.
Sure, that makes sense. And as part of that, are there efforts, or would you work on efforts to sort of reduce what can sometimes be quite a steep barrier to entry to some of the sports and to the gym and its facilities?
Yeah, as part of it, the current AU president has been working quite hard to try and get or to work out if it's feasible to have like with a accommodation fees where you pay it in payments rather than all in one bulk.
Sure.
She's been working hard to work out if that's feasible and to try and get it like up and running, so it is less of like a big burden at the start, so you're not having to ship out like hundreds of pounds right at the beginning when you're already paying for like tuition or accommodation and stuff like that. It's spread out, so it's hopefully easier for like people to budget and people to manage.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds. Thank you for expanding on that restructure to the best of your ability and to explain how that would work. I was also very intrigued about your proposition of establishing a disability sports program, and I thought that was quite a really interesting and quite unique part of your manifesto. Could you talk a bit more about that and how you would go about implementing that?
Yeah, like the idea kind of came about when I was like part of the sports fair, so I was like helping organise and run that at the start of the year, and it was like talking to like a few people that were kind of wandering around or like in wheelchairs or whatever, like had came around to see what they could do, and hearing from them that like sometimes it's like really not accessible. Like they might have wanted to play like wheelchair tennis or wheelchair badminton. I don't know, like something like a sport, but we didn't have the facilities and the capabilities to accommodate that for them. So they were really limited with the amount of like the type of sport or like what sports they could try. And so hopefully by like working on kind of getting some form of disability sport program up and started, it will help kind of work with clubs to make sport inclusive and accessible for people with disabilities. Because I mean you don't want to lose out on like students who could be doing sport, but unfortunately we don't have like you don't want them to lose out just because we don't have the facilities for them. But yeah, like it's something that I think would be really beneficial, like just to get more students involved. Like you don't, like at one point I was trying, I think it was wheelchair basketball, and it's difficult. It's like a completely different type of workout from like playing normal basketball. So I think it'd be good for like, even to boost numbers, start getting able-bodied students involved as well.
That's great. Yeah, that seemed to us like a really great initiative. So now I have a more of a fun question. So imagining pre-COVID times, or hopefully a post-COVID time, what would be your ideal day or night out in St. Andrews?
So I'm really boring. Like I'm not super big on like nights out. But my ideal day would probably be a day where I get to see my dog. I have a dog back home. So like maybe bringing her up here because she loves the beach. Getting to go like a properly big walk along the beach. She goes absolutely nuts and torments basically everybody on the beach. Like they definitely know she's there. But yeah, getting to walk her along the beach. And like my family, when we came up, when they came up with the dog, we would always go out for like a nice meal afterwards, and just kind of be able to sit and talk and like just catch each other up on what's been happening since we last saw each other. So I think that would probably be like my kind of ideal day in St Andrews. Like pretty basic, but I just really like the beach.
Yeah, that sounds really nice. What kind of dog is she?
A Saluki Lurcher Cross. So like she's white and fluffy and quite tall, and she's very fast, but not the smartest dog in the world.
That sounds like a lovely day. Yeah, the beaches are so lovely here. We're quite lucky.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So my next question, back to some of the more, I guess, manifesto and job-related aspects of your campaign. Obviously, this has been a tough year for all of the university, but the COVID has obviously impacted the athletic union as well, and its operations. So how would you aim to deal with that if elected, and how would you take in the lessons that the AU has learned throughout the pandemic to adapt to sort of a changing and flexible scenario?
I think one thing that we've kind of learned this year, like early communication with clubs is key. So like as soon as you know, like obviously, hopefully there'll be no more lockdowns once this one kind of ends. But like as soon as you know something's changing, letting people know as soon as possible, getting the word out so like they're able to let, like clubs are able to let their students know, like the people like participating in it. But I think slow and steady is kind of, it's been the kind of model up in Scotland with like the lockdowns and stuff, is trying not to release it too early, and hopefully by the time kind of September rolls around, we will be able to have like sport running again, like as much sport as possible, and I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, like I think basically just making sure that everybody's informed all the time and getting people involved in, like, even if they can't do their sport, like if they're playing like a contact, like a really close contact indoor sport, even if they can't do that, trying to get them involved in like maybe having some other sessions outdoors, just so they're still being able to keep active, like so that you're not kind of having, like I know that for me, like when I've not got sport, I do get kind of down. So I think if we can encourage people to like maybe join in with some other like sport sessions that we run outside, just something to keep people kind of in the loop and keep going until they can fully play again.
Awesome, that sounds really great. I really hope by September we'll be able to do some more normal things.
I really hope so.
Yeah, it's good to know as well that you've been able to learn some lessons from how the AU has been dealing with the crisis this year and adapt those if elected. Which brings me to my next question, which is, what's something that you think the current holder of the position has done well, and what's something that you think that they've done less well?
I think first off, obviously she's had a really tough year because it's been a COVID year. Nobody's really known what to expect, and like she's kind of being completely thrown in the deep end. So I think she's done really well to get as much going as she can, and to like get kind of what sport we can have running, alongside obviously running the membership restructure as well, which has been a massive project that, like, kudos to her, because it was like, it's been such a good idea, and it's working out well, and when it does roll out, it should be such a good thing for kind of students. So I think overall she's done like a really good job, but like I think the kind of resilience that she's had to kind of keep pushing for kind of sport to keep like going as much as possible, and just to kind of as much going on with the AU as she can, because obviously it's been a really tricky year. In terms of things that she could have done better, I don't.
Or I guess you can also say something you would
yeah.
have done different, something you would have done differently, perhaps.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I think it's tricky because like obviously I've been like working quite close with her this year, so like it's hard. It's like being on the inside. It's hard to see kind of out.
If you don't have an answer, that's okay. I mean,
I don't think I have an answer just now.
Okay, no worries. So I have just one last question for you, which is that every candidate in every year, but especially in this election, promises to make the AU more transparent and accessible. Why are you the right person to actually deliver on that promise?
I think kind of I have quite a unique perspective from like a kind of sports experience, because I've been part of like a kind of performance club for the past like 5 years. I've also been part of like a non-performance club, so like I've seen the kind of differences in between how information gets transferred and how everything like the interactions between kind of performance clubs and non-performance clubs. So I think Sam has mentioned it in the past, but there is currently like thoughts of redefining what a performance club is, like in the definition a wee bit, making it more like making it not easier to obtain, but like making it obtainable for clubs that aren't already performance clubs, if that makes sense. I think I talked about it in my manifesto about when I was part of the Saints Leaders as well, and how one of the most beneficial things for me doing that programme was getting to speak to the other clubs, like people from like kind of sports that weren't my own, getting to speak to them, see like what problems they're having, chatting about that, like working together for like find solutions for some things. And it was also like quite reassuring to see like even though you're different clubs, like you do have the same issues. Like a lot of it, like you might have different people, but like same issues do sometimes just come up. So I think we have like forums with like the clubs and stuff, between like dialogue between the AU and the clubs. I think it would be helpful as well to like maybe open that up a wee bit more, to have it between like other clubs between each other, because I think there's so much experience in like St Andrews, and I think what we need to do now is learn how to share it, and I think kind of opening the forums up a wee bit more, like opening the door to like more communication between clubs, I think would be quite a good idea, like quite a good way to like be more transparent, like which it's funny that's come up as a buzzword. But yeah, like I think just helping clubs talk to each other, which sounds really daft, but like sometimes it just doesn't really happen.
Sure. No, that's a great answer. And I feel like I've learned a lot about the AU as well throughout our conversation. So thank you for taking the time, and best of luck with your campaign for the last couple of days. It's been great to meet you and great to speak to you about your campaign. So take care and best of luck.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, my pleasure.